This is Psalms 37 and 32 in the NLT. The wicked wait in ambush for the godly, looking for an excuse to kill them. But the Lord Yahweh will not let the wicked succeed or let the godly be condemned when they are put on trial. Put your hope in the Lord Yahweh, travel steadily along his path. He will honor you by giving you the land. You will see the wicked destroyed. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Kol Holoim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who do well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad. The Akim and the Akwat that's listening in. Yahweh is our Lord, willing that the lesson is edifying. It's the brother Shawab Muwan back at you with another lesson. And going into the title, all right, Quick Reaction Force will merge with IDF. All right, and I'm going to play a video going into the Quick Reaction Force. All right, and that doesn't say that in the video, but this is something I was just meditating on, that it all makes sense, you know, in the midst of all this, you know, IDF merging with our military, how the Quick Reaction Force, which is basically, you know, going into these martial law troops, going into Homeland Security, right, going into basically these what's the other word for them? What's the name of them? Matter of fact, get the video. National Guard. That's the one I wanted. National Guard. All right. You know, they are all part of that Quick Reaction Force. All right. And like I said, the IDF is out here training, all right, with a lot of these different groups. Okay. They're in different states, stationed, already training. Okay, that's what's been going on around the web. That's what's going on, you know, viral. Okay, through the web. All right, so it can only make sense that, hey, there's gonna be a Black Swan event. All right, what's the Quick Reaction Force? The Quick Reaction Force, all right, is a Quick Reaction Force is an armed military unit trained to deploy on short notice to handle sudden emergencies, combat threats, or civil unrest. You see, and that's all going to come, all right, through what? It's going to come through the collapse of the dollar bill, right? It can happen through protests. It can happen through a Black Swan event, right? A sudden unexpected event, okay? Regardless of how it comes, all right, they're already on board, stationed, all right, which this video is going to tell you. They're stationed in Alabama, and I forgot what was the other place. And they're basically set up in the United States where they're an hour away from each state. I believe that's how they said it, that they're able to reach any type of event that happens within an hour, okay? And again, why do they have that? Because they know that something big is about to pop off. All right, they know, you know, Jacob's trouble's coming. All right, like I said, all we need is a certain event, Black Swan event to happen, collapse of the dollar bill, a protest gone wrong, okay, you know, a false flag, all right, a Project Bluebeam happening, okay, banks closed. You know, these are all different ways that they can, you know, make something pop off, that people get in a frenzy, all right, and then all of a sudden, here we go. You see, they're an hour away, and they're going to come strong. They're going to come ready to shoot down people, man. They're going to come ready to unalive people, all right? Again, what does it say they are? It says they are a Quick Reaction Force, is an armed military unit. They're not going to come and just be unarmed and come hold people's hands, man. They're going to come armed. Okay, military unit trained to deploy on short notice to handle sudden. How they gonna handle that, man? They gonna handle that by the way of violence. All right, they gonna handle that with force. That's why they're called a Quick Reaction Force. Okay, sudden emergencies, combat threats, or civil arrest. So if there's combat threats, forget about it. Best believe they're gonna be using guns, man. All right, civil unrest, they're gonna do the same thing. Okay, in emergencies, hey, anything could turn out to be an emergency. All right, and that's when you usually see FEMA get involved, Homeland Security, all that. Right, and they all go back to being on the same team. Okay, so it says military and domestic functions. It says combat support provides immediate backup firepower. See, immediate backup firepower and rescue operations for troops or allies facing unexpected enemy contact or danger in inactive operational zones. And what a time for them to be being brought, right? Because we're already on high alert with what's going on with these sleeper cells and things like that, right? It says domestic response. It says directs specialized National Guard units across U.S. states to train for rapid deployment during civil disturbances. Yeah, civil war, right? Riots or crowd control situations using non-lethal gear like batons and shields. All right, and they're not gonna come with batons and shields, but batons and shields is old. All right, these niggas got all types of crazy ass weapons that we ain't even hear about. All right, as a matter of fact, there was where was that? I believe it was in, I forgot what country it was. It might have been actually in Venezuela, but if not, all right, you got certain countries that were already talking about how military was coming with trucks where they had high pitched frequencies and were able to make people bleed out their fucking eyes, man. Okay, so they're capable of doing whatever they want. Honestly, we just know that they got all types of weaponry, all right, to, you know, handle the situation. All right, and ultimately these things are set up for the men of the Lord, because that's who they're really trying to come after. At the end of the day, all right, it's all about the men of the Lord. It's all about those that fear Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, this is where all these different tactic laws and you know, special operations that are being pushed out here in Babylon the Great, they're all for the men of the Lord, for those that are truly believers in this word, man. Because they're going to try to touch the Lord's anointed. They're going to try to touch the Lord's elect. Okay. It says readiness timeline operates on strict standard operating procedures requiring parts of the force to mobilize within hours of an alert. Okay. So now that you have a little definition of what the quick reaction force is, all right, now let me play this video and then I grab some scriptures and close out. All right, so
everyone needs to listen to this very closely. It's been confirmed the Pentagon is moving forward with plans for a domestic civil disturbance quick reaction force. Here's what we know. The plan calls for a 600-member National Guard unit divided into two groups of 300 troops. One will be based in Alabama to cover the east, the other in Arizona to cover the west. Their mission, to be ready to deploy anywhere in the nation within 1 hour in response to protests, riots, or unrest. This idea was tested back in 2020 when the Pentagon quietly stationed the same number of troops on standby in these two states. The new plan would institutionalize this as a permanent force. The Guard would operate under Title 32 authority, meaning troops remain under state control but are federally funded. The Pentagon even plans to use commercial air travel through hubs like Atlanta and Phoenix to directly and cheaply move soldiers into cities at a moment's notice. Critics warn this risks normalizing military response to domestic events, blurring the line between civil law enforcement and armed forces. Supporters argue it ensures rapid protection if unrest spirals out of control. Bottom line, a standing federally backed rapid deployment Guard force for American streets is no longer just an idea. It's on the table and might soon be in service. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments and follow for more.
And see what they've been wanting to do that for a while. They've been wanting for all hell to break loose. They've been wanting for civil war. All right, this is what they've been, you know, for the past 6 years since the first pandemic. All right, that's what they pretty much have been, you know, preparing for the second pandemic that was going to be the real pandemic, because the first one was nothing. The first one was just a test to see how much control they basically had over the people. All right, and they already seen how much control they have. They see how people reacted in those days. All right, they see how people was going crazy for fucking toilet paper. They see how people were rioting and protesting up and down the streets, and look how we are now still. All right, we're doing the same exact thing, but even more. Okay, you have all these no King's Days and protests. right? You have all these people standing up against the government, protesting, sedition among men, all right? So how much more when the time comes of the economy collapsing or the dollar bill collapsing or the stock market crashing, you see? It's just going to be complete mayhem out here, okay? Literally complete mayhem, all off of problem, reaction, solution, because that's what they have in motion, all right? The Hegelian dialectic, okay, which is to basically, you know, have a problem, all right, which they created, okay? They know your reaction. That's why they tested it all out in the 2020, all right? And they gonna have a solution, okay? It's not gonna be the solution that they were giving you in 2020. All right, now the solution is going to be the RFID, the New World Order. That's going to be the solution to all things. Okay, you want all this to go away? Well, you have to take this MOTB. You have to bow down to this system. Okay, but in the process of that happening, all right, they have to basically take out a lot of people, depopulate a lot of people to be able to gain more control of a smaller amount of people. Right, because if they was just to try to do it right now, it's just way too many people that will stand up. You see, so they have to knock out a bunch of people to put the fear in people to be able to gain control over a smaller quantity of people. You see, so that's pretty much what all that is about. Okay, so we got Shalom, brother Al Bashir El Shah Braga says the Hegelian dialectic is a method of reasoning and philosophical argument developed by the German philosopher G.W.F. Hegel to explain how human thought, history, and reality progress through a process of conflict and its resolution. Exactly. So it goes back to what I was just saying. All right. It's basically based on problem, reaction, solution. And it's all a psychological game that they play with you, man. All right. Because everything out here has been is a psychological thing, man. All right. They know exactly how to play with your mind, man. And it's crazy because I remember when I was in school, I mean, I ain't graduated college, but I did do college for a little bit. Wasn't my thing for me, but when I was doing it, I had the psychology class, which was a very heavy class because I did learn that was one of my favorite classes actually in there, and I learned a lot how they work on the mind, you know, child psychology, you know, regular psychology. All right. And just them knowing how the brain functions. Remember, the scriptures talk about how Esau makes a diligent search. So, you know, he been making diligent search on the people's minds, knowing how people's minds are going to react to certain things, you know. And this is why they have created these different problems and already know what your reaction is going to be. And this is why they are setting up these programs, these laws. All right. Because they already know the reaction to these things. You see, and then based on the reaction, how fast it is, or you know, there'll be different types of reactions that come out of it, but it's all going to lead to the same thing, you know, the solution, which is, all right, this RFID, this system, okay, that they're trying to implement, which is the New World Order, all right, and gain total control of the people, right? And a lot of people going to be, you know, scared when they see how these military groups are being set up, okay, here in Babylon the Great, just to be thrown against their own people, okay? Because like I said, that's why I thought about that before. Like, so here it is, they got this, which we've been talking about, the quick reaction forces. Brothers have done many videos on it, especially within the last couple months, because it's come up as a topic a couple times. But, you know, we always be switching topics because we're all over the place, because we're constantly tapping into all the different things that are happening. All right. But now it seems like a topic that's going to come back into motion, because it's all going to go referring back to Jacob's trouble. You see? But it makes perfect sense of them bringing in this quick reaction force, right? The laws, bringing the actual forces, right? In the midst of us joining with fucking IDF. All right. So IDF is coming to basically take out and unalive every single one of you niggas, all right, that don't want to hearken on to the word of the Lord. And they're gonna do that shit with ease, man. They're gonna do that without a doubt, without a thought in their mind. Okay. The quick reaction forces is your people, your government, all right, trying to control a situation that eventually will turn, all right, deadly. It will turn bloody out here, man. Okay, because at one point, once they see these IDF niggas taking people out, it's just gonna be a certain demon that's gonna spread between those type of people, man. You know, that's why we tell you, anybody that's part of these the police and anybody that's part of the military, these niggas is all Roman centurions. When you go back into, you know, the spiritual part about it, you know, going back into reincarnation. Okay, so eventually, you know, they say they ain't gonna be attacking on you know, our ground, our own people, but that's what it's gonna lead to. You see, because Esau's doing the witchcraft and sorceries on all these nations, on all these people here, man. You see, so that's gonna turn into, you know, a bloodshed there. All right. So let's grab this, and I'll just start closing it out. Just wanted to touch on that real quick. Like I said, this is what was I reading? Oh, I was reading Psalms 37 and 32, right? Again, it says, the wicked watcheth the righteous and seeketh to slay him. Yeah, that's why scriptures tell you here in 2nd Ezra. Let me grab that real quick. 2nd Ezra 16. 1 second, it's loading up. Second Ezra's 16 and 74. Let's take it from there. It says, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord Yahushai. It shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord Yahushai. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. Hear, O ye my beloved, saith the Lord Yahushua, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for Yahweh is your guide, and the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift themselves up. All right. So at the end of the day, they coming like madmen, sparing none. You see, they going, and especially on you 2/3, man, they're not gonna have a care in the world of how they treat any of y'all, man. All right, you're gonna feel it by death and pain. You're gonna feel the miseries that is done to you for walking in great pride in those latter days, man. That's why the scriptures tell you in 2nd Ezra the 15th chapter that the cities shall be troubled for their pride, man. This is a prime example. You see, cities are being already troubled by placing, all right, these type of military operation groups, all right, in the midst of these different states for a situation that they say is just in case, but we know that it's going to happen, man, because civil war has been it's been brewing up for quite some time now, man. And that's exactly what they want. They tell you that shit in the movies. They show you in the movies. You know, look at the movie, what's that movie called? Civil War, as a matter of fact, it's called Civil War, which is the spinoff of is the sequel off of what's that shit called? The one before it was Leave the World Behind. You see how when everything collapsed, it showed how people got into a frenzy, all right, and it became every man for themselves. How people began to protest, how people started to stand up, you see? And that's what the second part of that movie is for, Civil War, when everything had broken to all hell breaking loose. That's what's going to happen out here. It's going to make everybody go into a frenzy. And once they do, all right, who they going to call? They ain't going to be Ghostbusters. You see, they're going to call this IDF. They're going to call, you know, your National Guards. They're going to call your martial law troops. You see, and they've been training already for quite some time, probably being all fucking drugged up and everything. All right, to you know, become your enemies. And because we're a target, all right, they're telling you that the enemy within is those that fear Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. They're even more ready, you know what I'm saying, to come at people at a certain manner, you know, because right now, I'll tell you right now, they're not taking anybody in the military that's on some bitch shit. Now, they have a bunch of fagonometry ass niggas in the military right now, but those niggas be in the, and they're not the ones that is in the front line right now. All right, when it comes to getting nitty gritty out here, they're gonna look for the most ruthless niggas, all right, here in America that just pretty much have a certain type of hate already for a bunch of so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you see, and they're gonna come like what? Madmen sparing none. They're not gonna have a care in the world when it come to take you out, man. You know, as a matter of fact, that's pretty much where you're gonna have niggas like Esau on those type of operations, man, because Esau can't wait to knock off some heads. You know, they can't wait to be shooting and using their blessing, all right, to put our people down. All right. So this is why you have to fear Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, as a matter of fact, let's grab that real quick. This is Jeremiah 30. Jeremiah 30 and 4, and it reads, and these are the words that the Lord Yahweh spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. You see? It says, ask ye now, and see whether a man does travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. All right. And that's the time we're approaching Jacob's trouble. What is Jacob's trouble? It consists of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. All right. You so-called, you know, blacks, all right, from the Southern Kingdom, you so-called indigenous, all right, tribes from the Northern Kingdom, all right, being, you know, those were the 12 sons of Jacob. All right, that's who the trouble's coming for. Every single one of y'all, okay? And that's why we continually warn you, all right, to turn back to the Heavenly Father so you won't be caught up in that type of mess. Because the scriptures tell you in, let me grab that real quick. This is Proverbs. I mean, not Proverbs, Salakia. Ecclesiastes 7:1. No, where am I? Oh, no, I'm tripping right now. It's, Psalms. No evil shall touch you. This is. That's not the one I wanted. Got a brain fart right now. I know there's one in I'll grab that one instead. This is Ecclesiastes. Wisdom of Solomon 3:1, and it reads, but the souls of the righteous are in the hand of Yahweh, and there shall no torment touch them. Yeah, you see. So, as a matter of fact, that's what that is. Ecclesiasticus 7, Salakia. It just popped up in my mind. 7:1, and it reads, do no evil, so shall no harm come unto thee. Depart from the unjust, and iniquity shall turn away from thee. You see? So, you know, you do no harm, you do the righteous thing, the righteous manner. All right. Well, then the Lord's going to protect you. He's going to defend you. All right. You want to be a wicked ass nigga, you want to move in a certain way, well, iniquity shall turn away, all right, from thee. All right. Yeah. What's going to happen is that judgment is going to come. Okay. Yeah, Salaki, I read that wrong. It says, depart from the unjust, and iniquity shall turn away from thee. Yeah, because when you depart from the unjust, the wicked, all right, well, then you're no longer sinning. All right. And you have to understand that the Lord is he's angry with the wicked every day. You see? So the Lord is here. It is the Esau seeking to slay you, but you know Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai seeking to slay your ass for being wicked, man. And our people are so caught up with Christianity, Catholicism, thinking that the Lord ain't coming to judge, man. The Lord coming to judge and use, you know, Esau as that sword, you know, that's being sharpened, that to make that sword slaughter. Let's grab that real quick and I'll start closing out. Right, this is Ezekiel. Ezekiel 12. Actually, it's not even 12. It's 21. 21 and 9. Son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, say, a sword is sharpened and also furbished. It is sharpened to make a sword slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? It contemneth the rod of my son as every tree. And he has given it to be furbished that it may be handled. The sword is sharpened and it is furbished, and it is give it to give it into the hand of the slayer. Cry and howl, son of man, for it shall be upon my people, and it shall be upon all the princes of Israel. Terrors by the reason of the sword shall be upon my people. Smite therefore upon thy thigh. You see? So the Lord coming to bring a trial, all right? Because it says it right here, because it is a trial. And what if the sword contemneth even the rod? It shall be no more, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. You see? It says, thou therefore, son of man, prophesy and smite thine hands together, and let the sword be double the third time, the sword of the slain. It is the sword of the great men that are slain, which entered into the privy chambers. Yeah, and see, you damn, I had a precept real quick that was in my mind. Let me read that again. Hold on, give me 1 second. Damn, it was just on the tip of my tongue. Well, I got this one. I know this one on deck. Let me just go straight to it. But it was a different precept. This is Ezekiel 3:17. Right? Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, that thou givest him not warning, nor speakest to warn the wicked from his wicked way to save his life, the same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thine hand. Yet if thou warn the wicked, and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. You know, so we're constantly warning, all right, to get the blood off our hands, man, so we don't be destroyed along with these 2/3, man. You see, that's why we will push, you know, to the best of our ability as much as we can during the week, all right, presenting our bodies as living sacrifices, man, so the Lord can have mercy upon us, man, so we don't have to have that same judgment come upon us, all right, because the Lord coming not to spare, man, as the scriptures tell you in 9 and 4, right? Matter of fact, Ezekiel 9 and 4, and it reads, matter of fact, excuse me, Ezekiel 7 and 9. And mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. I will recompense thee according to thy ways and thine abominations that are in the midst of thee. And ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. You see, behold the day, behold, it is come. The morning is gone forth, and the rod has blossomed. Pride has budded. Violence is risen up into a rod of wickedness. None of them shall remain, nor of their multitude, nor of any of theirs. Neither shall there be wailing for them. Yeah, because the time has come. The day draweth near, man, for the Lord to bring his judgment. Okay, so now let's go back to 9 and 4. Right, it says, the Lord Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. All right, and that's going to be the elect. That's going to have the mark of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, which is the Tawah, to be exempt from judgment. It says, and to the others he said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite, let not your eye spare, neither have pity. See, the Lord not gonna have respect of persons for any of you niggas, man. The Lord has care for his elect. He has respect for his elect. You see, but for the rest of them, there is no respect of persons, man. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man whom is the mark. Come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. And then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. You see, so the Lord is telling them to slay utterly old, young, okay, both maids and little children and women. That's what you're gonna see in these last days, man. All right, when all hell break loose, all right, these niggas gonna have free game on you, man. They not gonna care if you a man, whether you a woman, whether you're a little child. All right, the decree is gonna be to kill all Israelites, man. It's just that plain and simple. Just like Pharaoh in the ancient world was given the decree to slaughter all the Israelites, especially those that were male. All right, was going to be the same decree that's going to be given here in Babylon the Great, which is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. You see, they're going to just tell everybody, just you see an Israelite, put them down, put them down. You know, you see a man of the Lord that we have on a most wanted list, we'll keep them alive because they're going to, that's where they're going to try to, you know, put hands on us in a certain type of manner. You know, they're going to have us and try to put us in FEMA camps and torture us, which they ain't gonna be able to get none of that shit to get, you know, none of that shit gonna go down anyway, man, because the Lord, all right, what does it tell you in Wisdom of Solomon, all right, such things they did imagine, you know, 2:21, right? Well, let's take it from 19. This is their thought. It says, let us examine him with a despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. Let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected. But he goes with Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh says, such things they did imagine, and were deceived, for their own wickedness has blinded them. As the mysteries of Yahweh, they knew them not, neither hoped they for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned the reward for blameless souls. All right, for Yahweh has created man to be immortal, and made him to be an image of his own eternity. Nevertheless, through the envy of the devil came death into the world, that they do, and they that do hold it of his side do find it. Okay, so that also shows you that he has envy toward our people, that perpetual hatred, man. You see, and that's why he loves to seek to slay us. Okay, and this is why he has all these different tactics that he's trying to do, all right, to basically set up the okie doke to, you know, eliminate all Israelites when they are seen. All right, they might say one thing on the news, but shit, when the time comes, they're not caring. Look how these people act now. Police have certain rules on how to deal with people when they arrest them. But look, first thing they do is they just shoot. They'll shoot a nigga, man. They'll shoot you know, Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom. It don't matter. They'll just shoot your ass, right, and ask questions later. Shoot first, ask questions later. Or they'll tell your ass stop reaching, and you got your hands dead ass in the air, you know what I'm saying, clapping and everything. You'll put on some damn handcuffs yourself, and them niggas will still be telling you stop reaching and can't wait to put you down, because that's literally the decree that's being given on from these elites, okay, down to these police stations that were around. Okay, you don't know what the top head honchos of these stations, you don't know who they're connected with or who they talking to. You know, your average regular cop that works in there might not know, but the ones that run these prisons, the ones that run these police departments, right? There's always one that runs the whole thing, is the head honcho. That nigga having dinner with Illuminati members, man, and they're telling them, listen, your agenda is to kill as many as you can. I don't care if they're not doing nothing, if they make it look like they're doing something wrong. You see? So, you know, with all these programs being put into place, all right, it's for only one thing, all right, to eliminate, okay, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there through the spirit. You know, Lord willing that you were edified. So with that being said, Barak Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Kol Haloyim La, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the whole full elect scattered abroad. Akimina Aqua that was listening in. Yahweh Rat the Lord willing that the lesson was edifying. To the next one, Shalom. Keep fighting the good fight of faith. Stay prayed up as always. All right. Troubled times is coming to this place, but hey, call Haloim La Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai for continually bringing the destruction of this place. All right, to this place fully be destroyed. Shalom Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Barakatah.